Welcome to another episode of the DYP Expert Talks. And this time I have someone really, really special and someone I want to give a big hug from very far away. But I can't do it. But yeah, you get the point. But she's one of the sought after coaches in India today. And she's actually helping a lot of women design their lives. She's the CEO of Life by Design. She's also the author of her book, Unlocking the Golden Cage. And she's a beautiful life coach. So there's a lot to learn from her. She's also my mentor. There's a reason why Design Your Presence is where it is, because Pooja actually helped me on the way. And in the beginning of 2020, I was like all over the place. So she actually got me like, Dia, this is where you need to stand, So I said, why not I actually interview her and get to know the right side of building, your presence as a really exclusive coach. So that's why I said, okay, why not I have Pooja Puneet on board? And it's just been an absolute honor to have her on my talks and talking to my community. So let's jump in. I'm so excited for this. How did you get the aha moment of becoming a life coach and launching Life by Design? How did it all start? Like, tell our viewers a little bit about that.
Honestly, I was just looking at helping my own self.
Okay.
I was so lost. I mean, this is back in 2005, 2006, where I didn't know where I'm heading. When you get married young, I was that typical young bride who did not get her education, so never went off to college. And I think I lost myself. I became more of a mold of how my in-laws wanted me to be or how my parents wanted me. And then I think a day came when I realized I want to know who I am beyond all the other labels that are being put on me as daughter, wife, daughter-in-law, mother, all of that. And I think just looking and searching for who I want to become became the journey of, okay, so this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And as I learned it step by step, I started to notice a lot of people starting to ask me, so how did you do it? And I think that best student is also a person who starts to teach what they are learning.
Yes, exactly.
And I think I was just being selfish that I wanted to teach others, because then I would turn into role model and do the best for my own life. I think it just started out very impromptu without realizing that there was a word or I didn't even know that life coach was a terminology and that there was a profession like that. I remember just praying to God, if I become happy, I'll make other people happy. Like, I'll help other people turn happy.
Beautiful.
And that's all I wanted to achieve, that God just make me happy again, because I'd lost that, that self-identity, self-esteem, just all of that. And I feel like so many of us women at some point go through this point where we go, enough is enough, I'm tired living for others, I want to now live for myself. And I think when you rediscover yourself, automatically you become an inspiration.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is one thing. And that's why you said Life by Design, because you want people to understand that it is how you design your life in the end.
A lot of people around me kept telling me, accept your destiny. You have a fabulous husband, fabulous children, the best. I mean, from the outside, my life couldn't get better. I used to travel the world. I mean, nothing was really missing. And yet every night I was crying myself to sleep, not knowing what's wrong. Like, why can't I just be grateful?
Yeah.
And that simple. I think kind of like led me to that. If you don't live your purpose, you can't actually become happy.
Very true. I mean, I completely agree with you in terms of even
Life by Design truly came from that place of, that destiny is great, but that's autopilot.
That's
if
autopilot.
If you design your life, you will get the destiny you deserve.
Absolutely.
If you start to design is superior to destiny. And that's how the name got coined, that I'm not accepting my destiny. I want to design my life.
Awesome. Because a lot of people actually need to learn that. They still need to master that whole idea of, designing their life to a whole new level, no? So that is one thing that...
I think they have to understand that one is that we are co-authoring our life with God.
Absolutely.
I think too many of us have resigned to the fact that, it's going to happen only his way, not my way.
Yes.
So that co-authoring, that he plays a game of, like, he plays one step of the chess and then you play one and then he plays one. And once you get that, then it's like a different life.
Then it's a different life. Yeah. So let me ask you one thing. Okay. Now, if one were to become a coach, like suppose, they want to become a life coach or a transformation coach, because there are so many kinds of, things that you can do when it comes to coaching. But how do they niche it down to something that they are passionate about? Now, they might say, okay, I want to be a life coach, but what makes people different from the rest, from the whole competition that is around? Though we say, nobody's competition because we have our own identity, we have our own presence to build. But what actually makes them stand out in terms of niching it down? Because that seems to be, like a topic that many people are trying to nail still.
For me, it's always the story. God's given you some sort of tragedy in your life.
Yeah.
Which when you overcome, that's your niche. For me.
Yes.
This is debatable, but this is where I would normally take a person if I had to help them with their needs. Like, okay, what's happened in your life that you overcame and now have a solution to?
Yeah.
That's happening in other people's life. And when you niche that out, because it's so personal to you, you actually understand everything about it.
Correct.
So you are an expert at it without ever studying it, because you managed to overcome it, or you're in the process of overcoming it.
Yeah.
So that to me is the strongest niche if somebody can go for that,
Okay.
Either your education, which is your research, should decide your niche, or your results should decide
your results. Absolutely.
And if you can marry the two, that means you keep researching, keep getting the results, then that's what I call a role model. That that combination is to me the ultimate.
Very nice. So you're saying that, something that it's also based on a lot to do with their passions, because a lot of people have a passion to do something. So are you saying it's even related to that?
Totally could be, because when you research a lot on a topic that you're very inclined to, maybe nothing really bad has happened in your life, but someone around you
has faced it,
something, and you've helped them out.
It
could be your story or someone very close to you, their story. But I feel a strong story is a great mission.
Absolutely.
Because God is putting all of us. Otherwise, how do you stand out? Like
it's like
so many in the red ocean. Move into that blue ocean that they speak about.
Yes.
You have to own who you are, because you are not copyable.
You're not copyable.
Niches are copyable. But how can someone copy your journey? How can someone copy your results?
Yes.
And when someone copies your results by getting results in their life, then I say let's respect those. That's true, beautiful competition to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone
healthy.
worked as hard as I have worked, I say, you know what, I can only respect you. I can never be jealous of you. Because I know the blood, sweat and tears that have gone into your hard work.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, because it's, I think everyone's got their own journey and everyone's got their own story to kind of mold into this whole thing of niching it down. So yeah, I mean, that's beautifully put in terms of how, you can stand out as a coach. And tell me something, what about the skills according to you should a coach have? Like, if in any niche, I'm not talking about just niching it down, but what kind of skills do you think, maybe, but 4 or 5 skills you can just tell us of how do they actually go in that direction of, really churning that whole presence of a coach, like how do you kind of look at yourself as a coach? So
normally when I'm speaking to women, especially because that's the niche I speak to, I speak about 4 C's, the 4 C's of being a good coach. The first one for me is always care. That you know what, as a coach, you have to truly deeply care for the human being who's sitting
Absolutely, yeah, that's very true.
Without
empathy.
that, everything is missing. Exactly, empathy, compassion. I always speak about growing your heart. Just grow your heart for that person. That's the first thing. Then, of course, I speak about remaining curious.
Yes.
One of the big mistakes normal people make from coaches is that they start to presume that what's happening to that person, if they were them, what would they do? That's normally how people advise people,
Interesting. Yeah.
And I say, you know what? Remember, this is not you. As a coach, you have to always remember the opposite person is not you. So his answer or her answer can be entirely 360-degree different from yours and yet be right.
Absolutely,
so curious on what's their resources, what's their personality, who are they married to, what business are they coming from, what experience have they had. When you remain curious and you ask a lot of questions, 90% of the time the solution comes from the person, and when the solution comes from the person, you can be rest assured they'll act on it. If the solution comes from you, the chances are you're being an auntie, chachi, taiji, mami ji, at home. You're not really being a coach.
That is nice.
Third C is competency, which is you are the product. You have to continuously work on who you are. I mean, I call myself make the claim that I'm the most educated person in the self-help industry in India. I don't know if that's true, but nobody's really come and countered it. But honestly speaking, what I do is, I think on a yearly basis, I assign this much money, 20% of all my income, to just doing courses. And today,
Courses,
thanks
yeah.
to online, you can just go on an overdrive because you don't even have to travel to those countries any longer.
To
You
do
don't
it,
have
yeah.
hotel,
Yeah.
flights, and all of that. So I think that continuously working on your competency, for me, I have a book where anytime somebody asks me a question that I don't know, for that time I will say I don't know, but then I'll write it down.
You write it down.
Never again should I not know this.
That's a skill I mastered from you also, because you had
Oh,
told me once in the past that, you should do this. Yeah.
You have to continuously keep working.
Yeah, very
on
true.
the various, then only you get depth in your content.
Yeah.
And last but not the least is your ability to challenge your client into whatever uncomfortable conversations that are needed to be had.
Yes.
All of us, we've come up with such genuine good reasons on why we can't. So I think pushing the client, they're after all paying you,
Yeah,
so
true.
a little bit sometimes kicking them and sometimes loving them, and on all of that combination is very, very important.
Very important.
And for me, like, keeping the client accountable is a huge part of what you do as a coach. So
As a
these
coach,
are four quick qualities that I would say that, everyone needs to work on. 2 of these normally will come naturally to the other person, and 2 of these they will have to work on. So I tell them which one are the natural ones, leave them. And the things that you feel are not naturally belonging to you, like if I had to ask you, Dia, which 2 do you think are naturally yours, and which 2 do you think you will also need to keep working on? Then you will be able to figure that out. Answer if you know the answer.
I know it's care for sure, because that is one thing that, I strongly believe in, because you need to care.
I would guess that.
Yeah. And the second would be, probably continuous. See, for me, actually, learning also is part of my, a kind of a trait that I already had, but I just wanted to build it. So I also feel it's a little bit subjective, but I completely agree with you in terms of, those 2 C's being, the things that are constant to actually make you a coach, and of course striking the balance and building that whole thing. So great. I mean, that is awesome. I think a lot of our viewers are going to be writing notes now in understanding how the 4 C's would work for them. Okay, so now this is something, there's a very tricky question that many people figure out that, okay, is this really true? They say success is outside the comfort zone. Okay, what is your perspective on being uncomfortable in building one's presence online, or maybe as a coach, or in general? Right? What is your whole thing of being uncomfortable? Because they say, right, only if you're uncomfortable and you're out of your comfort zone, only then you'll be able to achieve certain things. So what is your take on that?
Good, nice. Not a question anybody's ever asked me, so that's second for me to go, okay. So there are 2 things to this that I would add. One is everything is figure outable is a thing I heard from Marie Forleo.
Marie Forleo.
I have just moved all of my business in the last 8 months online. Up until that point, it was all offline. So because it's only a last 8 months, there is so much I've had to learn,
Awesome.
And I think just staying in that space of everything is figure outable, Pooja. You can do this. You'll figure out how to do Zoom. You'll figure out how to upload your videos on Teachable. You're going to figure out your branding. You're going to and literally on the go, Yeah. I mean, I remember at one point, a friend of mine, Rajiv, had said, success is shabby. And I remember writing it on my hand for 1 month. Success is shabby, because you know what? I'm such a perfectionist that I want everything right from the beginning. And I think letting go of that was one of my biggest learning points for this 2020. That, you know what, Pooja, don't try to get it perfect, just get it done. We'll perfect it later.
Yeah.
So that was a massive. I think the other thing is that earlier, my definition of confidence used to be that you take those small risks and you keep accomplishing them.
Absolutely.
Today, it's about showing up and knowing that when things go wrong, I'll be able to handle it.
Correct. And that's what we do online, right?
I think online, that's your definition of success. That, you know what, be rest assured what can go wrong will go wrong, whether it's your internet or the volume or the, I remember whenever I used to go on stage and the mic never used to work or that screechy sound used to come, I was like, oh, that's good luck. And now I've just started to associate when something goes wrong online. I'm like, oh, that's God sending me good luck. Just to rephrase it so that I don't get too perturbed by the whole experience, because there's little you can do when the light goes or something goes wrong, and then you just have to manage it. Having the confidence to manage has been one of the greatest learnings for me. Of course, there's a beautiful saying, start before you're ready. I think that kind of goes with my first point also, that everything is figure outable, and start before you're ready. Opportunity right now is being thrown at us because the world is moving online. You know what's happened to Zoom stock from like where they want to where.
Oh my God,
The world has moved on to Zoom. If you haven't yet done that, or whichever platform, I'm not in any way selling Zoom, but whichever platform for you, I think it's so important to start to understand that if you don't go along with the times, that time is over. Some people are trying to return back to
seminars, yeah, correct. I have seen that, yeah.
You know what? It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
no, anytime soon. A new way, and if there is something that's going to evolve as a hybrid, it may happen. But I don't see now the world going.
Not back. Anytime soon. Yeah. No, but this is actually something that brings me to this thought also, that every coach, whether it's a coach, entrepreneur, trainer, anyone, they are looking to find a way to stay in their bubble of comfort, wherein they say that, okay, I've been working offline all these times. I have, been meeting my clients. I'll continue like this. I'll see when the time comes and I'll go online. They don't understand that right now is the time. Like, yesterday was the time, in fact, that you had to do it.
I can move online. Anyone can move on.
Yeah. See?
I'm like, I'm the benchmark for not understanding technology and not, I got my first computer, iPad, everything has
You're talking to someone else, one more person also who was in that.
Are you serious? Okay.
Yeah, before I met you also initially in the year, I was completely offline. Everything was offline. I would go travel to do trainings. I would go meet my, clients. All those things were there. But I was so, fearful with the fact of, getting online and building. Though I had, I had met my other mentor, Siddharth, and I had also, spoken to him about this whole thing of going online and all that. So, it actually leads to that eventually, that, you have to get out of your comfort zone and do something. But a lot of people are still in their bubble and they want to keep that bubble that, let's just be here only, we'll see.
New identity needs new evidence, and we need to create that new evidence.
Yeah.
I recently heard another mentor of mine speak about how he always explained himself as a tiger. He was cheetah. He said, I was always about speed, and how now he started to run the marathons, and he said, I'm creating a complete new version of me. I found that so interesting, that I'm not, and I kept living in that bubble of mine. And today I'm like, okay, whatever I want to call myself is beside the point. I'm running a completely online business from the last 8 months and extremely profitable. So I cannot hide behind the sentences any longer.
Yeah. And it's extremely scalable also. That's something that even our viewers need to understand, that it's, if two people who are not tech savvy, okay, and are talking to you and telling you to go online and break that whole bubble, burst that bubble and go online, you would actually think about it this way, that, if we can do it, you can do it. It's exactly like that. So, Pooja is somebody who is my mentor, and she's completely in this one-on-one coaching, this thing. I've also got into it. And the whole point of this, to actually go and scale it up and to make it really big, is to get out of that comfort zone and saying, I'm comfortable here. I don't need to go further than this. So, to the viewers, this is something that you really need to learn from in terms of, our conversation. That don't worry, nobody's really tech savvy that way over here. We are all on the same boat. That's the main thing.
And so great. I think the world going forward, there's so many new things that are getting released on a daily basis.
Absolutely, yeah, that is so true.
This and that learning has become a learn in the morning, do it in the evening. That age is over where you studied for 3 years and then you spend the rest of your life using those 3 years. I think today it is, okay, what next? Okay, I need to discover this, or I need to understand this, or I need to learn this. And on a daily basis, you are learning everything. So it's learning, doing, and that's the new curve.
Yeah, and now talking about that learning and doing, there is this whole thing about work-life balance now, because now everybody is sitting at home working out, and then going and working with their family, and then, handling their kids and whatever it is. Like, it's all like in one thing, right? So it's literally like one space and you're doing everything. So what is your 3 top rules in handling a work-life balance? Like, what do you think should you be telling a coach, or anybody, like anyone who's listening to this, watching this right now? What do you think would be their top 3 rules in terms of, their work-life balance?
So one of the things I speak a lot about is, don't look for balance, look for harmony. And I'll tell you the difference. Balance is a lot about you checking in on a daily basis to see were you balanced today. I think life is more larger than that, and I think checking in once a month is a better way of doing the check.
Doing it.
Some months I feel like my work took the better of me, and some months my children needed me. Like my son was leaving for UK last month, so I then made sure that I'm more with him than with my work.
With your work,
like that you create. So every month I ask myself this question: who needs me more this month? And I figure out the list of people that I'd like to attend a little more to, And then I have this drop list. What has come into my life in the last 1 month that I need to drop? Sometimes Candy Crush has popped up. Sometimes some play has popped up. Sometimes, when you're sitting free in the evening and you're like, okay, how do I unwind? You get into some habit which you realize actually is not serving you in the long run. It may have served you that day or that week or something like that. So I think having an add list and a drop list every month helps me harmonize my life a lot more. Like my younger one's now going to have his board exams. One is graduating from college, one is graduating in school. So the guy who's in school needs like a lot of those essay writings for, colleges abroad and all. So I know right now it's very crucial. Another 3 months his boards are going to be over and then he may not need me as much.
Yeah.
So I think understanding and prioritizing rather written on stone, I think it should need to be very fluid.
Very fluid.
That's been one of those things that I understood that, okay. And also secondly, taking no guilt when I realized something got neglected. Earlier as a mother or as a home, I call myself a domestic goddess and I claim to run the house in a
Yes, you are.
So all of that. So I think initially when things used to go wrong, I used to get very guilty. Now I know that the feedback is never for my past, but always for my future. So now that I know something got neglected, my husband may have commented that the food was not so great today. So I know next week I'll make sure that it gets compensated, but I'm not gonna now worry about they didn't get a good meal or whatever or So I think just understanding that guilt is just feedback for you to improve your future and has nothing to do with how you need to feel about the incident in itself. So I think learning to let go of perfectionism has been a great thing learning. And I think then dividing your time in the day, scheduling things that are important. Like after 6 p.m. I try not to go back to work. I try not to discuss work. Most of the time Puneet opens a bottle of wine. We have a pool table in the house, so both the boys will come out, they'll be playing pool. So it'll just turn into family time. And for 30 minutes we say let's be off our phone, So we have a basket, the phone basket. We all four put our phones in that. And literally sometimes, we feel like we need to spend a lot of time with family. The truth is 30 minutes are magical. It's enough for all of us to get updated on what's happening in each one's life, what's happening.
Absolutely. I so agree with you.
Later, we just go back into our own spaces to watch whatever we want to watch to unwind and all of that. But I think it's the little things that matter.
Very true.
Just creating those little rituals, like Puneet and I do gratitude together in the morning. Wednesdays, we kind of get food from outside. I live in a joint family of 13 people. Every Sunday, we have lunch together. So instead of fixing people that you don't spend time with me or you're not doing this, I think creating rituals is a beautiful way to balance things out.
So true.
See what's missing and create a ritual around it.
Wait, Pooja, did you just say you live with a joint family?
I live in a joint family.
Wow. Same here.
Okay.
13 people.
13.
Same. Yeah.
Even I brothers, they have each one has a wife and two children and my mother-in-law. So all
lovely. Because I also live in a joint family. My husband, his brother, and I have his cousins on top. So we all live together. So it's great. This is something that I can also learn from. Great, awesome.
I say joint family is like a lottery.
Yeah.
Not everyone will get everyone right.
Correct.
So fortunately in this house, every single person that came in, I was actually waiting for the bad fish to come and I to leave. Because I was told I came from a nuclear family, I didn't think much of a joint family.
Same, oh my God, same
people
thing.
People will be together and then fights will happen and then somebody will have a big fight and then I'll get to leave. So I was waiting for that. But 21 years and everyone just came. Both of my co-sisters are gorgeous people. My mother-in-law came out to be a super person. So I say, I got my lottery right. So please don't look at my house and think that, you can get the same. They came out to be right.
And it's the same here as well. Yeah, it's the same here as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you got it right, you're really lucky. And then I say joint families are better than nuclear families.
Yeah.
If everybody is nice, then it's very worth joint families. Like when I was in Dubai whole of last week, leaving my son alone here, I could only do it because the whole
they were there. Yeah.
Like now I take full advantage of the fact that I live in a joint family, and all of us take advantage of each other.
We are the same. It's the same over here, and it's like it's another thing in common that I also got a lottery, so we have a good joint family who is supportive in each other's journeys as well. So great. I mean, that is like something. I mean, I just figured out there's something in common between the two of us as well. So that's awesome.
Feeling the deeper we go, the more we.
There's going to be lots in common. I already know.
Same whole kingdom.
Great. Awesome. So they say a coach sounds experienced when they aren't trying too hard. Okay. So, when they're not trying too hard. So what is your opinion on communicating as a confident coach, like communication? So what is your whole thought on that?
Communicating as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. Like when you're asking questions, how do you kind of drive that whole thing of getting your client to, answer those questions, to be more open with you?
Beautiful. So mostly I think I normally have a style of where I have a lot of expectations, but I'm very detached to the results. So I think a lot of people say don't expect. I don't know how that works, because you know what, if I've cooked the whole day for my husband, I don't know how not to expect the compliment. It's natural that, if I've just cut my hair and colored my hair, I need my husband to come and tell me, oh wow,
you're looking good.
I'll be like, I'm doing all of that. What I think the same is with my client. When I put in that hour of, so I have expectations, but I have zero attachment to result. Because I believe that if they were able to get results, why would they come to me in the first place?
Absolutely.
The problem is that they don't know how to execute whatever it is that they need to. That's why I'm a part of their life, right? So I think just that whole thing of, and when you come from a place of detachment and results, it becomes so easy to have conversations, because you go, okay, let's try this. Let's explore this. And literally, I think between my client and me, we are designing their life on the go. And some things work and some things don't work. And I'm not here to impress or to, like you said in the beginning, I'm not attached to anything. So you know what? Let's find your way. Come, let's try my way. Come, let's see what others have done. And let's do everything and see eventually what can work for you, because there is no one way or there's no one right path. The thing is to discover for their personality type what's the right answer.
Correct.
And I think remaining open and flexible to that journey is maybe more my style of doing things, which is why I've studied under so many teachers, because I want to know the many styles to the
what
same.
Are they doing?
Tell me 100 ways to find my purpose and passion.
Yeah.
I want to know all the 100, because I don't know which one who will need.
True.
So I think having expectations but not being attached.
Having expectations but not being attached. Wow, that's an amazing thing to say when it comes to actually being a good communicator as a coach, because knowing the fact that you also have to be very flexible with what the person on the other side is actually listening and watching and understanding from you, right? It's like a two-way thing in the end. So great. I mean, that's amazing. So who are your top 3 influencers and what have you learned from them? This could be your mentors, this could be anyone. So what have you learned from them? I know you have many, but who are your top 3 influencers / mentors?
Whenever you speak about my influences, always Jack will be the number one, because he was the first one I studied under. And the one who's literally groomed me. So Jack Canfield, the chicken soup for the soul guy. What did I learn from him? I think exactly what I just mentioned, that his ability to just the desire to help the world with a very clean heart, and yet not, wanting anything in return in his own way.
Nice.
And that's something he does so beautifully, and he's such a giver. He can really give. And I think I've learned giving from him, because, in the break when everybody goes off, he stands on stage and lets the line ask him as many questions. He won't take a break the whole day. I mean, he's a 70-plus-year-old man, and he won't go for the break. He will eat lunch with us I mean, you've gone for seminars, you know what happens when the break happens. The speaker disappears because he needs to go realign or whatever he needs to do. And, I think I saw him, and then when I went for other seminars, I was like, but where did they go? And then it's like, no, a photograph with him is 1,500 pounds, or, shaking hands with him costs money, or you need to be in the VIP. Chat doesn't have any of that. So for me, like, that was really, I think, one of the best learnings, that, when you become a teacher, for me, teacher equals to giver.
Yeah.
You have to give more than you take. So whatever that means for you. So I think in my entire tribe, you will see a culture of giving, because it just goes from top to bottom. Everyone just opens up their heart and becomes a bigger person in trying to serve the world. I think that would be one great thing. I think marketing, I learned from one of my teachers called Brendan. I think the entire funnel.
Yeah, creating the funnel. Okay.
Just having things to go deep. I think a lot of coaches, the biggest mistake they make is they go horizontal. So I can teach pranic healing also. I can teach Reiki also. I know crystal therapy also. I can do ABC conscious clearing also. I can do, and you'll have like on their visiting card 15 things that they can teach.
Yeah, that's the problem.
One big mistake that coaches are making. They're not going deep. They're going horizontal, and they're doing more courses, thinking that but I'd rather they go white belt to yellow belt to black belt.
Yeah, correct.
Taekwondo to this thing to all the different. So that's the big learning I had, was go deeper in your journey.
Yeah.
So if you don't have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, I highly recommend go this way, not this way.
That is something that I think many people still need to learn, right? I mean, in terms of the funnel and all that, because they say that it's good to have all these services instead of having, focusing on one thing and going deep into that. That is something that I think we are solving. Yeah.
It's much harder because it's so much easier to create a menu.
Yeah.
Than to, create 4-course meal.
Yeah, correct. So, very true.
I think that's where you get differentiated from a fast food restaurant to a Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
Just understanding that the money lies at the level 3, level 4. Level 1 is, I say, you lose money most of the time. So people who are stuck in their level 1, you'll have great impact, but not much money.
Level
2, you'll recover the loss and make a little profit. If you're getting it right, that's where your level 2 will be. Level 3 and level 4 are pure profit and
profit multipliers.
This thing. So then, it's a no-brainer that if you don't have a level 3, level 4, money making in coaching will be zero.
Yeah, that too. I think many trainers and coaches still need to learn that. They need to, understand that it's not about being somebody who knows everything and can, deliver everything. Even if you can deliver one service or one topic, that also plays a huge role, as long as you're going really deep into that whole thing. Right. So amazing. That is great.
Third influencer, I definitely would like to mention my husband. He's a really amazing man. So
Yay, husband.
Yeah. For me, I think what I learned from Puneet is just how to be, one, a good human being, and secondly, he is by far the most forgiving person I know.
Awesome.
So, he used to, when I got married, he used to always say this, and he said, Pooja, I forgave you before you apologized. And I don't know, I understood the depth of that sentence at that point, but over the years, I realized too many of us are so busy fixing one another. He just taught me total acceptance of another human being and what that feels like. And I feel a lot of me, I got nurtured in an environment where he said, make your mistakes and learn on the journey. And that permission to, just do whatever I want on my journey became so gorgeous that I think I started to feel like, actually, when you don't punish the person for when they do something wrong, they feel so guilty, they become right themselves.
Yeah.
So I think he's so much cleverer than the one who tries to teach people a lesson. I think you adopted the cleverest form of changing, me. Even though in the total acceptance, I got changed completely because I was so nervous of disappointing him because I knew he won't say anything.
Right.
So I think that was something beautiful, and that kind of then led us to become that kind of parents where we allowed our children to,
grow
do
like
whatever
that.
they want and make their mistakes and learn, because you're forgiven before you're even.
Then he should be like your first influencer and mentor, actually. In fact, that's like because you're having such a supportive partner I mean, that is something that
You're
it's
absolutely right, but I didn't have the maturity to understand that my first influencer at that point. Honestly, it took me Jack and other people to come back to appreciate the man he was.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Bandar kya jane adrak ka swad. So it takes some time to even value the, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. So all that was happening in my house, and I think it took me a while to start to realize the kind of man God has. Again, lottery, like I say.
Lottery, yeah.
I heard Indra Nui say this, that, you know what, I just got lucky there and therefore I became who I became. So
yeah,
it's I can't take
it all together. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. That's really nice. And nothing like having somebody who's supportive in your house, in your own home, who is actually helping you grow and, you know, see that side of you. So great. I mean, that's awesome. And he'll know all the different sides of your personality as well. And he will also tell you based on that. You know, that also is something that, you know, your mentor from outside will never be able to even find that out. Because
absolutely. I mean, I remember in the beginning he used to say, when Jack says, you understand it. When I say it, you take me for granted. And I said, that's pretty much every spouse. So don't try to put it on Jack.
Awesome.
But that's the truth. Like, you know, he used to tell me a lot of things and I couldn't at that point get them. But now in hindsight, I go like, you know what, he had already told me this. Now I'm doing it because someone else who I have respect for is given me that information.
Wow.
But now I've also matured up and I've started to listen to him and
listen to him. Yeah.
I'm like, now I don't need to waste more time. It's been tested and tried. You're a good guy.
Beautiful. So nice to hear that. Okay, so awesome. It's been like an amazingly candid conversation on this, and I'm so happy that I got to, you know, connect with you and understand this whole thing of coaching, of talking about life, balancing life, you know, life by design, as we say. And, you know, when we have life by design and design your presence, it all merges together into one really amazing conversation. So I'm so happy, Pooja, to have you on board like this and to, you know, talk to you like this openly. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to all our viewers and how they can, you know, take some information, some learnings from this and see how this can actually help them see the brighter side of coaching and building entrepreneurship and going online, breaking those barriers and doing all those things. So thank you so much, Pooja, for, you know, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge in this talk. And I would like to end this session with a quick thing. Okay, like this is something that, you know, many viewers should actually ponder. Now, when you actually are getting into this whole journey of entrepreneurship, coaching, training, and, you know, there is so much around you. There is like a lot of information that is given to you. You really need to laser focus on to something that we call, you know, harmony, which is what Pooja had actually explained, where it comes to, you know, the life, it comes to your career, it comes to, you know, how you want to live your life. Because if you boil down to all that, to be a coach and to actually help somebody on the way is something that people will see naturally. You know, you're not trying too hard in terms of, you know, becoming a coach who's really good and who's ready to help. So it has to be effortless, and that starts from your roots, and that starts from, you know, where you are and what you do. So yeah, great. I mean, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, please do subscribe and like our you know, video. And if you really, you know, felt you got something from it, please do comment below. If you're listening to the podcast, then do write out to me at info@diyasrani.com and, you know, tell me if you really like this and if you want me to have more of these kind of talks with all my experts and my favorite people like Pooja Puneet. Okay, so thank you so much. And yes, I would like to also ask Pooja, where would you want people to find you online now that you have an online presence also? So where can people find you?
So I have Pooja_Puneet at Instagram. They can go there. They can find me as Pooja Puneet on Facebook. I think the YouTube channel is also Pooja Puneet. I think type Pooja Puneet.
Pooja Puneet all over. That's all you have to do.
Wherever you're able to, wherever you are, whichever platform you're on. And Diya, it was such a pleasure. You know what? Such beautiful questions, I must say. And, you know, you're so insightful as a person. Every time I interact with you, I only see your amazingness. So just stay like that. I think the world is going to gain a lot from having you in.
Thank you so much, Pooja. That really means a lot. You're one of the reasons for this journey. So thank you so much. And I really look forward to, you know, doing more of these sessions in the future. And I really want people to learn from this so that, you know, they also see the brighter side and they also understand how this thing works. And it's not so difficult as, you know, or complicated as they say that, you know, that we should do it this way. So thank you so much, Pooja. That was really nice and very exciting as a conversation.